What villain was terrifying because they were right? The Reapers from Mass Effect, in the original BioWare ending before EA changed it. All they were trying to do was stop advanced races from using so much dark matter that they wiped out all life in the galaxy before other races were allowed to come along. If it wasn't for them, humanity wouldn't just not exist, but every species in the entire cycle, every species in every cycle, everyone would have died as the stars went out, this horrific fast heat death event, over the course of a few thousand years. Except a small group of Leviathans, in the early days of the universe, realized what was going to happen, and sacrificed their entire civilization to save all future life in the galaxy. And when Shepard destroys their ships in the third one, every one of those ships is a museum, a living record of every previous civilization, and they're destroying the only thing that was able to be left from them. To fight the Reapers is to fight against everyone who has ever lived and everyone who ever will live. The Reapers don't just have a point, they've saved more lives than we can even fathom. Their only flaw is that they were never able to find a solution that was better than wiping out civilization every few thousand years and preserving whatever they could find. This is hands down the best answer I've seen by far. Most people seem to have misunderstood the original question. Thank you for nailing it on the head. The sharks from Sharknado. Can you imagine you're just swimming around, minding your own business, then all of a sudden a tornado picks you up out of nowhere, drops you on land, and now you have to deal with Tara Reid? Yeah, I would start biting people too. Magneto is my favorite villain of all time. Every time his motives are brought to light I get that yeah, I kinda get it moment. One of the only good bits out of that god-awful excuse for a Phoenix movie, X3, was just Magneto giving side-eye to the young mutants asking for his tattoos. He just whips out the concentration camp number and stone cold no one is ever marking me again like that was a bad movie but at least they got that attitude right. Another good one from that movie was Charles Xavier did more for mutants than you will ever know. My single greatest regret is that he had to die for our dream to live. He always did love Charles like a brother. Charles and Eric make my top 10 favorite characters easily. Their genuine care and respect for each other despite being often at odds makes them my favorite character pair in printed media. I can't imagine what my relationship would be like with my brother if we had conflicting beliefs and acted on them like that. None of you said the most terrifying one. Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls. He wanted to bring free energy and advanced technology to the people. And in one episode he actually did. He made the world an amazing place. And then the Powerpuff Girls ruined it all. I just read his backstory, pretty sad. The professor accidentally created him by spilling Chemical X on him. He was a lab assistant at the time, but then after the Powerpuff Girls were created, the professor eventually neglected Mojo and left him to live out on the streets. I never even realized he had a backstory. That's really sad actually. There's a whole episode about it. The professor invites Mojo back into their life and is tricked by Mojo into giving him powers like the Powerpuff Girls. Then he turns on them and tries to take over the town. Can't leave me hanging like that, what happens? Did he take over the town? I thought Mojo was the professor's pet monkey who while misbehaving spilt some Chemical X on himself in the cauldron with the Powerpuff Girls mixture. Yeah, because the end of the episode was him saying over and over in a daze I created the Powerpuff Girls? Well fuck, you just unlocked an old memory for me. It was me, it was me. It was me. Red Queen Resident Evil, I have locked down this facility to prevent a world-ending virus, please could you good guys pay attention and not blow holes in the doors. Except she didn't come out and say it from the beginning. I always hate it when characters say things like you gotta trust me or now's not the time since that's the only way for plot to move forward. To quote Ryan George, so the movie can happen. Explaining the issue would have been so easy, barely an inconvenience. Mr. Wilson from Dennis the Menace. The live-action movie has one of those random scenes you see as a kid that sticks with you your whole life. Mr. Wilson has been cultivating this flower that takes like 40 years to bloom and then dies in 10 seconds. At the moment it's going to bloom, Dennis causes a ruckus and Mr. Wilson misses the blooming he's been working his whole adult life for. Looking back, that's like one of the most disturbing moments I've seen on film, partly because it gets more relatable as I get older. I mean, damn, 40 years. As soon as you mentioned the live-action version, that's the scene that came to mind. I think it was so memorable because all the other shenanigans that happened, he yelled at Dennis, but this time he didn't. I had to rewatch the scene for the quote, but, you took something from me that I can never get back. Something that means more to me than you ever will. I don't want to see you. I don't want to know you. Get out of my way. That's real. Those are the words of a heartbroken man. Man, I forgot about that scene. Walter Matthau was a terrific actor, I immediately read that in his voice. I was recently watching Dazed and Confused as an adult and found myself root for the guy that chases down the kids for smashing his mailbox. I was like, get those little bastards. Stevie from Wizards of Waverly Place. Her entire goal was to stop families from giving up their magic to just one person in the family. Like, we're really supposed to be rooting against her? It just seems super out of character for Alex to go against that plan. Edit, thanks for all the upvotes. I got to experience seeing something I put on Reddit appear on my FIP on TikTok for the first time, smiley face. I was pretty young when the show was running, but I always confused by this. The only thing I can think of now is that when the family wizard is chosen, they become a full wizard. Before that, wizards only have part of their powers, though, that doesn't seem to affect the characters really? Maybe the writers were thinking that with each generation, an individual's powers would get less and less, and eventually diminish into nothingness. But if this was the case, that was not explained at all. I was thinking exactly this. Why give up your powers when everyone can have them? Only one member of the family having wizard powers seems unsustainable for the wizarding world. I get it that it was not very nice of her to trap her brother, but she was 100% right. I really thought Alex would do it. I cannot understand how or why did Alex double-cross her. On a side note, I always thought it was a cruel system and that the Russo parents were also somewhat cruel for having 3 kids, knowing that 2 would eventually have to live the rest of their lives believing they weren't good enough or smart enough to carry their family's legacy. Or the fact they knew one child would be years behind the oldest, yet they have to compete at the same time. Max was truly boned. I just hope he enjoyed it while it lasted. Yeah. The consolation prize of winning the restaurant isn't as alluring as they made it out to be. And Justin getting to keep his magic so he can become a teacher was BS too. My husband explained that to me and I was like, whoa, that's some dark shit. Don't they even kill her? Like they freeze her but then she shatters? Yeah, but she got fused together and sent to soul rehab or something. See also, Magneto, the Holocaust survivor, not wanting his species genocided. His main plan was quite reasonable. Convert the world elite into mutants, thus guaranteeing they treat mutant fairly. Q humans were not ready for what was waiting for them in the Gamma and Delta quadrants. I don't think Q counts as a villain, he's an antagonist for sure, but not a straight-up villain. Ken from the Bee Movie. I too would go absolutely berserk if a talking bee stole my girlfriend and gaslit me into thinking I was crazy. Plus, dude was allergic, OFC, he wouldn't want to be around. Every time I hear the plot of this movie, I think it can't possibly be real. It gets crazier as you go on. Okay, so it's a movie about talking bees who have their own little society, okay, that's cute. And then the main bee finds a human to become friends with, still tracks. Then they start an interspecies romance even though she's married in a relationship with another human. What? And then they work together too. Sue the human race over honey theft? And they win? And then it turns into an environmental apocalypse? What? Also, the main bee appears to be male, but all worker bees are female. Male bees are essentially useless until it's time to mate with the queen to start a new hive. Then they die. Are you saying that the main bee's father shouldn't be alive at all? Wait until you find out what should have happened to Nemo's father. Just a regular summer. Hate to break it to you, but that's just the side plot. The main plot involves a bee suing all of humanity. Oh, and then the third act tackles the ecological and economic impacts of losing bees as pollinators, and that bee has to acquiesce and allow his fellow bees to remain indentured servants so as to save the world. Never mind that it's native bees, not honey bees, that are the essential pollinators. Yeah, that got pretty dark and complex for a kid's movie. I did enjoy the part when his buddy stings someone and is in the hospital, a human hospital. Sorry, sir, we can't admit you because we're out of beds. What about that bed? That bed? That's the bee's bed. It belongs to the bee. Do you like jazz? Do you like dags? I completely agree with this. I was watching the Bee movie 2 weeks ago and I felt bad for Ken. He was the only reasonable human in that movie. Bee movie 2 weeks for a minute I thought they made a sequel. A bequel. Also Vanessa was his wife not girlfriend ha. Count Dooku just straight up told Obi-Wan that the Sith control the Senate. I still love the fact that Dooku tells him this and Obi-Wan knew about the clone army being set up under the Jedi's noses and no one decided to investigate that possible connection until years into the Clone Wars. If you want to go even further, in the Clone Wars. Unfortunately, that was like a day before Order 66. Unfortunately Maul assumed Ahsoka would believe him at face value and switch up to kill Anakin. If he even told Ahsoka they had to save Anakin from Palpatine, with full intention of killing him, they would have stopped like 7 movies and spin-off shows from happening. No, the bad guys would just be Emperor Maul and Darth Citizen. True, but the time when he says it to her it's already too little and too late anyway because it happens the same time as Rots. Dooku is a really nuanced character. Even though he was Sith he never fully submitted to the dark side. He also recognized the Jedi had become ineffectual at solving problems and the Republic was bloated and corrupt. He was an idealist that wanted what was best for the galaxy, even if that meant joining the nemesis of his old order. Edit. Obviously this was his original motivation and intention before he truly became an evil tyrant. I'm not saying he's a good guy or this is somehow vindicating. It's just a classic case of someone having decent intentions and screwing it up with terrible execution. Arya's parents on Pretty Little Liars. They're villainized for not letting their high school daughter date her teacher? Yeah, that relationship was just. Like why normalize that at all? I know why they attempted to normalize it, it was rhetorical and doesn't require an answer and was meant to display the disgust I have with the attempt. The bears from Goldilocks and the Tree Bears. She broke in, ate their food, broke some furniture, and slept in their beds. My 4 years-old loves it when the bears eat her, at least in the one I tell him. He always says he thinks she is the bad person lol. I keep telling my wife that Goldilocks is supposed to get eaten and she always says I'm wrong and uses the 2 versions we have in the house where Goldilocks runs away as evidence. I want her to not get away with it. Actually in the original story the impudent, bad-mannered, foul-mouthed, ugly, dirty, vagrant old woman is chased out by the bears. Oh daddy! Cried the baby bear, my porridge gone. It isn't fair. Then go upstairs, the big bear said, your porridge is upon the bed. But as it's inside mademoiselle, you'll have to eat her up as well. Roald Dahl's version in revolting rhymes. And that ending was just right. General Hummel from The Rock. I will not give that order, I will not repeat that order, I cannot give that order, what the hell is wrong with you, man? Such a great scene for both points there. That's up there with Crimson Tide when Gene Hackman and Denzel are giving orders over each other during the mutiny. What are your thoughts? You're presuming that we have other submarines out there ready to launch. But as captain, I must assume that our submarines could have been taken out by other Oculus. We can play these games all night, Mr. Hunter, but I don't have the luxury of your presumptions. Mr. Hunter, we have rules that are not open to interpretation, personal intuition, gut feelings, hairs on the back of your neck, little devils or angels sitting on your shoulders. We're all very well aware of what our orders are and what those orders mean. They come down from our Commander-in-Chief. They contain no ambiguity. Mr. Hunter, I've made the decision. I'm captain of this boat. Now shut the fuck up. This is a good one. Literal terrorist, but he got sympathy from pretty much every character in the movie, including those trying to stop him. Loyal leader, made concrete demands, and never actually intended on killing anyone. So not terrifying, but he had a point. And the money he wanted his ransom to come from was checks, notes, profits from illegal arms sales done by the Pentagon. The only mistake he made was bringing in Captains Fry and Darrow to bolster his manpower. They were no longer soldiers. The minute they took hostages they became mercenaries. And mercenaries get paid. They just wanted their fucking money. He wasn't even really a bad guy. He went out of his way to not kill innocents, even though he threatened to, and his mission was entirely noble. Also, Ed Harris is a 10/10 actor. I'm not about to kill 80,000 innocent people. Do you think I'm out of my fucking mind? We bluffed. They called it. The mission's over. Such a good line. Never respected a villain more than at that moment. A less noble, but still relevant version of this happens in Die Hard with a Vengeance. They fail to disarm the bomb at the school, but nothing happens. Gruber to McClane, I'm a soldier, not a monster. I was just thinking about that scene and how heroically the 3 officers in that school really were. You had the explosive specialist all in on disarming that bomb or die trying. And while that's happening, the other 2 officers run back into the school to save the children still inside, frantically search for an escape, and when they realize time's up and there's no way out, they huddle on the roof with those kids in a big group hug, offering what little and obviously useless protection they can with their bodies. They were all fully committed to dying for those kids. That whole sequence is so incredible and emotional, but unfortunately, and understandably, gets lost by everything that follows. Oh yes, Ed Harris steals the show in Westworld, even with all the other amazing actors in that show, apart from Sir Anthony Hopkins. The first season was absolutely phenomenal, thanks to the presence of those 2. They stole every scene they were in. Michael Bay's best film, Emo. Your best? Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. Carla was the prom queen. Stand down, Captain. I have always loved this line. You can hear in his voice that he knows the room has turned against him. We're mercenaries. And mercenaries get paid. Gladys, she was absolutely right, you were a terrible person. We weren't even testing for that. Probably one of my favorite moments in my gaming history, when you meet her in 2 and that pure disdain and hatred in her voice. Oh, it's you. It's been a long time. How have you been? I've been really busy being dead. You know, after you murdered me? To be fair, she did try to kill me first. Deadly. Toxin. We haven't entirely nailed down what element it is yet, but I'll tell you this, it's a lively one, and it does not like the human skeleton. Okay, look, we both said a lot of things that you're going to regret. But I think we can put our differences behind us. For science. You monster. Murdered. The way her tone changes at that word is brilliant. I love that game so much. The voice actors in that game did such a brilliant job in conveying so much with only the slightest changes in tone. Same thing with Wheatley's, actually. When he stops Shell's elevator just before she makes it out of the facility. My favorite part to rewatch is the subtle shift between that rush of concern I felt for you taught me a valuable lesson where Caroline lives in my brain. Caroline deleted goodbye, Caroline. I did it back to back when I got them as a bundle, and it was so eerie to jump from victory to ah shit she's still alive. Absolutely perfect voice acting. I've never felt like a robot voice wanted to kill me before that line. Even before she was way overconfident. If only I can get her in my Alexa. I play 2-player Portal with my brother, and every time she insults one of the 2 of us I immediately remind him that she's trying to sow division between us and we shouldn't let her. Honestly, the fucking funniest thing about Portal 2 is kinda left unsaid. So the end of the multiplayer and you find all the frozen human test subjects. DLC starts and GLaDOS is like, oh, it's been 100,000 years and all the humans are still alive. Definitely. Yup. Then you find out it's been a goddamn week and all the humans are dead. It's horrifying but so fucking funny that she tries to hide it. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. Portal 2 has DLC? The Hamburglar was just trying to save children from childhood obesity. If Mayor McCheese and Officer Big Mac are anthropomorphic burger folk, that means Hamburglar is carrying a bag of severed heads. It's 7 but for kids. What's in the bag? Colonel Kurtz. We train young men to drop fire on people, but their commanders won't allow them to write fuck on their airplanes because it's obscene. Apocalypse Now is one of those movies where, depending upon when you watch it and what version you watch, your view of it can change. Edit, wow, this blew up. I don't know which version offhand is best. If I recall correctly, the pacing of the original is much better and more enjoyable. The Redux is good, but the pacing isn't as great and I found it to be a darker watch in a way. I'd stick with the original and go from there. Definitely recommend giving Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker's Apocalypse a watch if you've seen Apocalypse Now a few times. The documentary on making it is pretty insane. Also worth noting that most of Brando's scenes were improvised. They filmed him talking shit off the top of his head, 4 hours at a time, and then used the best bits. Most of his scenes were improvised because he didn't bother to learn his lines. Dude was supposed to show up thin, even emaciated, playing a character starving himself to death like Gandhi. They wanted Streetcar Brando. Instead, he never took off the weight from Godfather, for the rest of his life, really. Didn't bother to read Heart of Darkness, didn't learn his lines, got them fed into an earwig by an assistant. This movie was the beginning of the end for Brando. Skeptical. I'm so surprised more people aren't recommending the book. It's the inspiration for the movie and isn't a very long read, but it's an incredible story. It's a masterpiece, and English was not Conrad's first language. Nor his second. The book isn't long. Give it a read. It's worth it. I always love to hear when editing has such a strong hand. Actor/director is a really common creative relationship, but, 'cause I'm an editor, actor/editor is the most interesting to me. The actor has to give the performance, of course, and the editor has nothing to work with if they don't. But the worked on product comes from the editor and they need the actor to trust them to edit well. If you like the video, hit that subscribe button for more content. I post every day and I'll see you next time with more stories.